Welcome back, everyone. The second interview here with my buddy Paul Schaffrin, Creative Renovations and Building. We got into some discussion about just how do you successfully run a business. We're trying to just provide some insight. These are experts. Paul's been doing this for 33 years now.
Yep, I've been doing it longer, and I just had this business.
The business has been around that longer than that. Paul might not want you to know how old he is, but he's I think he's 37 now. He started when he was 4.
I'm old enough to know better.
Okay, old enough to know better. That's right. But with that, we're going to show off a little bit of his work that we didn't get to the first show. That first show, though, had so much good information. How you manage, what you do, your perspective on life and business, and how you make this thing function. But a lot of good insight there. And so we're continuing on here because Paul is sharing with us everything he knows that he can cram into a half hour. It would take 6 weeks to get everything that Paul knows out onto a recording. But he's a very knowledgeable and friendly guy. I've known Paul since 2011. We figured out, so been a long time doing that. Well, with that, tell us. You mentioned this is a great answer, and I didn't realize you would say this. That's why I said, "Oh, show that." And then I may have led him to think that we were recording. I said we were going over the questions. He says, "Oh, you got to show that. That's cool." How has technology changed our world? And you brought up, so here's my most valuable tool. What would you say about how technology has affected this?
Well, the technology is a big gain on all tools, really. So many new things that you can use to make your job easier. But I tell people all the time, people will come on the job site and they want to look at all your tools, like how guys do. They want to see how your tools are better than their tools. And they're what's your favorite tool? And I'm like, this thing right here is my favorite tool. It's the most valuable tool I've ever purchased in my life. And my whole business is run out of this thing.
That little smartphone, they call that,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And you've got it right there on your hip.
Yeah,
but what do you think is so valuable with that with regard to your business?
Well, my son worked for me from 2012 till 2020, and he kind of took me out of the dark ages on a lot of things. So I resisted a lot of it.
Right.
I was pretty advanced on some things. Like I had one of the first smartphones that could take pictures and things and videos. So I thought it was important for the job, because one of the problems with showing people pictures of your work is I never had a camera. If I did, it was out burning in the sun while I was working or something and getting ruined. So it's just always remembering to get a camera. Well, then I bought some of those early cameras that did all that. But there's also apps now that I can use. There's apps I can do the bidding software. Okay. There's apps that I can do pictures with measurements on them.
Wow.
That's way handy, because it's like I don't have to run around with a notepad and a clipboard.
I still do that.
I still do too. I have one in my truck and it just sits there.
Okay.
It just sits there. I'm like, hey, you don't carry that. You
right.
You carry the clipboard.
But they can you can take the picture and it can go, okay, that's 13 feet 4 inches.
Well, I don't trust that. I still measure it myself, but I'm still not out of the dark ages completely. Right. So I still want to see that on the tape measure. My son's like, it'll work. I'm like, I want to measure and make sure it's what I think it is. Because when I do the plans, I want it to know that's 139 and a quarter or whatever.
Right.
I want to know exactly what my measurement is. But it's pretty accurate. But the thing is, I can write the measure. I can just take my fingers and write the measurements use that instead of a notepad, which is handy, because instead of I would sketch the house. I was a pretty good artist at one point.
Okay.
I was, drawing people's houses, and I'd draw the measurements. And that's the advantage of that over the technology, is when I did it, something about using my hand to make the measurements and things. And when I used to do blueprints on a drafting table in
right.
pencil, I would remember the numbers better.
Okay.
It's something to do with the hand connection. I don't know what it is, but
right.
Now it's just faster. A lot faster.
Now it makes it. If you make a mistake, you don't have to throw everything away. You can go edit, undo, right, redo, and just makes computers have made it a little more efficient for the matter of getting these processes done.
Well, and then when I did blueprints on a drafting table back in the day, I would I make a lot of mistakes. And so I'd be erasing it. It'd get so sloppy. I hated my drawings because they were so sloppy. Well, on the computer, nobody knows how sloppy I am, because I can erase everything.
Right.
Erase all the evidence.
Okay. But technology has definitely improved things, you think, for the benefit?
Way better.
Way better.
Way better.
50% better, 100% better, 200% better?
It's like walking through the door on the Wizard of Oz and everything's in color. I mean,
okay.
It's amazing.
All right.
I mean, I think, because I remember having to have all the notes and find your notes, and I had to carry a mini file cabinet with me, because I never had the people's file that I needed. When I have all the files in my phone, if I need something, I can look through old emails. It's like great. Wherever I am, my file cabinet's there.
So here it is, everybody. The much endeared phone, right?
Mine's better.
Smartphone, yeah. You got the. I can flip mine open. I don't know if that helps at all, but this is
That's kind of cool.
This
I
is
like
the
that.
technology that they've got out there now, and so. But these little phones now, you can do everything you can imagine.
I like that
When they first,
fold-out thing.
yeah, it makes it doubles my surface area so that I can do two sides and
Very
whatever.
cool. I might have to look that
Mostly,
up.
I just do it because I use a lot with spreadsheets, and you can scroll down and see. But with the first time they had GPS, when I was like, how long did it take them to get GPS in our phones? But now you can just say, because they wanted to sell me a $2,000 upgrade to my car back in the day, and now with GPS, you just pull out your phone. So take me here, and boop, take you right.
You need to fold out screen, big screen with all those rings on there.
That's right. Well, just to get the full effect, you're right. So,
Doesn't it affect the magnetic field or something around it?
yes, I can control Mars and Jupiter. I kind of no, but we do these for a lot of fun, so I appreciate that. Yeah, as a Cardinal fan, are you a Cardinal fan?
Yes, I am. Not as much as most people.
Okay, but this is, and there's a little symbolism behind this too, because the Cardinals are quote unquote champions, right? And if you kind of formulate your lifestyle in a way that you see the way they've done well, like we talked about another show, I guess, talked about model yourself after somebody who's done well, and then you can be successful.
I do like the Cardinals just because they're such a success story. I love it, and I'm not I'm not a sports fan really much, and I hate to admit that on your show, but because I'm a musician, I have a different hobby.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that. But Paul's one of the best musicians you'll find in the area too. So you've got a lot of fun stuff, and we might even be able to show off a little bit of that. We're going to get into that when we talk about what is a hobby a little bit. Well, then tell me, somebody's interested. They say, Paul, I love your work. How does somebody get started with you? What are the steps somebody needs to take to hire you to do the work for them?
Well, because I do a lot of additions, I mean, a lot of the processes before they actually sign the contract, and this is a big time risk for me. I mean, but I think it's necessary to make them feel, because they're usually a high-ticket item, make them feel comfortable, is to walk through all the options and several visits. It's like something I go in their home and, okay, we're going to do your room addition in one visit.
Right.
I look at what they want. I usually will throw them numbers in the first visit and say, you're going to be between here and here, and if that doesn't work, save me the time of this 4 or 5 more meetings to work to contracting. I don't want to get to the contracting day and have you tell me that number doesn't work after I've done all this work.
Right.
To prepare. So I usually will give them a range of where I expect it to land. So I don't know where it's going to land until I process the bid and figure out all the materials. We have to have a plan to do that. So we come up with a plan. I work from the plan, get the pricing on the materials and the labor, and figure out what the overhead needs to be, and then put it in the bid and say, here's your bid, and it landed between our numbers. So it's pretty much a no-brainer then, unless they were just taking advantage of me, they signed the contract. People don't tell you, yeah, that number works, to screw you over at the end.
Yeah, well, it's just a matter of, you've got a process here. You're vetting them, they're vetting you, and figure out, is there something we can both agree on that this is going to fit? Because how often does somebody come in and say, oh, I thought I could get this done for $2,000. You're like, no.
It's a lot of trust.
$10,000, and that's growing up from
It's
that.
a lot of trust. It's pretty much a handshake until we get to the point where we have to sign the contract. And the most important thing about that is to make sure my interpretation of what they want is in writing. So, because that's the work order.
Right.
That and the blueprints.
Right. And that's where they can really see, here's what we're going to do. And we've put all the pieces together, all the materials necessary to make this thing come together, or what you're putting in place there. Well, tell me, what is the challenge as a business owner? There have been some hurdles you've had to overcome over the years. Can you share with us one challenge you learned from it that really helped make you better and stronger and help prove that you could do this?
Well, I don't think we have enough time because there's so many of them.
Sure.
One of the challenges I had was early on, I tried to grow too fast. I think I mentioned that in the last episode, but I grew really fast, and I had a lot of people working for me, and trying to keep, that almost put me out of business.
Wow.
And so I had to pretty much start over then, and I did. I kept things going, and I tried to keep it small after that, grew a little bit. And then other challenges were just typical economy stuff. You have to really be able to read the room in this business, or read the weather, and kind of see.
Yeah.
And I've relied a lot on my gut, and a lot on just kind of seeing where other markets are going, to feel where these dips are coming. Because what's interesting about what I do is I do a lot of different aspects of remodeling. So sometimes one year I might get a bunch of room addition calls, and then all of a sudden the following spring I'm like, everybody wants kitchens. It's really weird. I don't know what it is that's drawing people to all be seeking the same thing at the same time, but there is a trend very often, I find, and it's like all of a sudden this year I do a lot of bathroom. Now this year's a bunch of showers and room additions and garages, and but when the market gets bad in one particular region, sometimes you can hop over and start trying to market this other option
Yeah.
people to do. Like people still have to do their roofs, even when the economy is bad. They still have to do windows and siding and things like that, maintenance things.
Yeah, a quote I got from my boss back in the day. But those who survive are those who can best adapt to change. Right? When there's and you see the weather. When you're talking about this is the way that the economy's going, or the way the industries are flowing, or the changes in the technology that's making a big difference. If you can adapt to that kind of stuff, you can survive. Would you agree?
Well, and that's kind of what we talked about in the last episode, also about growth. I didn't want to become a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
So cookie cutting, you'd have to do one thing to really teach. You can't teach people all the things that I've got rattling around in this box up here. So I have to, you could, but it's so much information that I've learned mostly by hard knocks and living it.
Sure.
But if you wanted to grow your company, you'd find one particular niche and focus on that to grow and teach people how to sell, like windows or whatever. But for me, the danger is that then I don't have anything to hop to when the market gets bad for windows.
I gotcha. Yeah. So diversity, but also being able to adapt and change as necessary to do so. Do you have a favorite quote? Anything that stands out in your mind that kind of has become a mantra for you? Something you believe in that helps guide you? Anything in particular you think of?
Well, I've kind of said it's our mission statement, even though it's not a very eloquent one. I've always said if you put people first, the money takes care of itself. It's not even eloquent enough to say it right myself. If you put people first, the money always takes care of itself. And I've add on to that is if you treat money like gold and people like dirt, you'll have more dirt than you want around you. Yeah. If you treat people like gold, and then that's your value, and that's the rarity, and you treat money like dirt, you'll have more dirt than you ever want to have around you. One thing about dirt, you can sweep the floor, and it seems like 10 minutes later, there's more dirt.
Right.
And I feel like I don't say you should give all your money away, but something in that direction where if you let that be a tool to take care of others, and let that be your priority, it's magically returns.
Interesting. Yeah, and we talked about that, like you said in the first show, a little bit. A matter of if you just do what's right to help better other people and benefit other people for what's good for them, things tend to go your way, and then you don't have to worry about it. But these people who, it's a lot harder to fib or not give a full effort here and have to go back and then cover that up and fix it. And some people, it seems they don't understand that, they don't learn that, and they will learn that the hard way, it seems a lot of times. But just contribute, do well, and help others, and life is easier.
Well, I believe that we're all in this together, and you can't hardly hurt someone without hurting yourself, because we're connected, right? I mean, the Earth is a little tiny blue dot in the middle of everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so we're all together anyway, so we might as well take care of each other.
Keynote there, everybody. Take note of that one. You can't hurt somebody else without hurting yourself. That's better words may not have been said in recent times, anyway, for what we've done.
Write it down.
But write that down. Take note.
Borrow your pencil.
There you go. Put that in your notepad somewhere. But the truth is, yeah, I mean, when you do take advantage of someone, you're really ultimately hurting yourself. You may have gotten away with it for a little bit, but then the reputation will come around and people will talk, and just do what's right, help other people, and life becomes a lot easier. There you go. An excellent point there to take note of, everybody. So that comes from Paul Schaffrin, my buddy here, and does a lot of good work in the community. So keep that up, Paul.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. All right, as we continue on here, there's obviously a lot of people that when they're getting into this, they're like, I have a few questions. What are some of the objections that you very often hear from people who say, I like it, it's great, but what is that question they have a lot of times?
Well, in my business, objections, when you hear that, and especially if you're in any kind of sales, the objection has such a negative connotation. And really, in the way I've put myself in the receiving end of those objections, is that it's a good thing, because that's another tool that I can use to steer this conversation into the project, ultimately being what they need and want.
Right.
People don't give you objections unless they want something. Now, sometimes those objections are sprouted from ignorance of something they learned by Googling or something and finding information that I know is hogwash, or that at least I believe that I know is hogwash. If you're hiring me to do it, it's hogwash.
We've got another one there I got to take note of. People don't have objections unless they're interested, unless they need something.
Unless they have a need.
There's a need they have, and they're having questions about what's going on here. If they didn't have questions, then they're obviously not interested.
Their objection is a need.
Yeah.
It's something that they need to have addressed, even if it sounds mean when they're... So I don't see objections in a negative connotation. It's kind of neutral. It can be a good thing if I can find the golden ticket in that little nugget of information they gave me. I'd rather them tell me what's on their mind than harbor that resentment. And it wouldn't start out as resentment. It'd be just an honest objection. They thought, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want them thinking I'm a jerk. So I'm not going to say anything. And then way down the line in the job, that sprouts into something really bad.
Right.
And so I'd rather them get it all out up front.
Bring it out up front and let's hear about it so we can deal with it.
But to give you specific objections, some of the objections usually are things they found on the internet. And I tell people, or those something to do with price. The internet says it could be this much price. I'm like, the internet's not the one doing it.
Right.
I'm the one
the
doing
internet
it.
come in and do that.
And sometimes that sounds like I'm being a smart aleck. And sometimes I am a smart aleck, legitimately so.
Right.
But the truth is, it's based on local cost and what we're going to be having to charge to do the job. It's, we're here, we have a value, and for us to put this together for you, this is what it is.
Well said. Yeah, a lot of great insight here as these are things that people have to deal with, especially when you're running a business and you want to make sure you're addressing the needs. It sounds like everything you're bringing up is because you are having some concern for what the customer needs to make sure that they get what they're asking for.
And I've had objection that they think, based on that, it sounds like this is it's just too much. I said, I admit it's a ripoff. It's too much money. I don't know why, but this is where we are now.
Yeah.
If you did this 5 years ago, it'd probably be 30% less than you're paying now.
Very well said. So tell me, what is it that gives you the most satisfaction of what you do? Ultimately, at the end of the day, you go home, you say, I feel really good about this because I got to contribute and make a difference. And tell me what it is that impacts you. I
like it when I'm able to solve those people's objections or problems and answer and help them achieve what they need and want. Because guess what? I'm a consumer too. And I like it when somebody meets my needs. So it makes me feel fulfilled when I'm that guy. When I bought my new truck, I felt like my salesperson took really good care of me and made sure I had everything I wanted and needed.
Yeah, well, and that's very often the case. It's just a matter of how often do people cut corners and they're just trying to get through this thing or have had a rough day or something just brought them down a little bit. But that doesn't ultimately serve their long-term goals best to help the client. Make it a win-win situation for everybody involved.
I've had people walk into their rooms or into their master bathrooms and start crying. I'm like, what did I do? And they're like, oh, I'm just happy. I can't believe this is mine. I'm like, then I feel like I'm going to start crying because that's the fulfillment side.
Yeah.
And I tell people that's the best pay. I mean, yeah, the checks are nice, but that's the real pay.
The emotional side of this, this is the place where their people are going to spend their livelihood and their friends, their family, their kids, and where they want to. They're proud of it because they put their sweat equity into developing the resources to make this happen, and that's what you get to help build for them and make it happen. That's exciting and very cool for those in our community to benefit from the work that you do. What do you think that is most rewarding for you? I mean, I feel like when a long time ago when I started doing this Cardinal Cowboy thing, I decided I wanted to try to inspire other kids. I'd been through a coma, fortunate to pull through, and I had doctors that helped me and supporters that made it capable to do that.
I'm glad you're doing better.
And so, yeah, I'm very fortunate to come through that, but I wanted to help other people. So I started going to hospitals. I'm like, I'm really going to make an impact here. I'm really going to help some people. I'm going to make a big difference. And then I realized, wow, how much I benefited from what I felt after I shared with them and how much I learned and the feedback I got from them. Is that the kind of what you get to live a little bit through with what you're doing to help your son?
Yeah.
And to help other people?
Yeah, so there's my son, and that's his ministry. And then on my own side here, because that's what I help keep him going there with that ministry. And I've sent some donations to that. But I also do monthly support with him.
Okay.
But on my own end, I'm also a musician. I play professionally, semi-professionally around town. I've always said I do construction to support my music habit. I'm a music addict, and it's kind of a joke, even though my business is my business. I like doing music that's not have to be something I survive on. It's not my survival, because then it becomes business, and it kind of take the joy and creativity out of it. I don't know, but if I ever could make a living, I'd be traveling, I'd be away from my family. I don't want to do that either.
Right.
And then there's a whole competition thing. You have to be good enough and get the job before somebody else does.
Right.
But I like playing music, and we get a little bit of money for it, but a lot of times I'll play for free for a charity. We've done different things.
Okay.
I went and played with my good old friend Kevin Watson. We went and sat at Christmas time when my mom was still alive, and they had to be in there at chemotherapy at Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And we stayed there all afternoon playing Christmas songs and singing with them, and then we played our regular pop songs, and it was just wonderful watching people who looked not, obviously they weren't happy to be there.
Right.
I wasn't happy for them to be there, but I was happy to be there to maybe, it's an awkward thing. I mean, we're going to sing songs about joy and things, and we're in this room that's not very joyful right now.
Right.
But by the end, and we left, it was joyful. That was the best paying gig I ever had. It was wonderful.
The reward you got and the satisfaction
Oh, it was just,
from
we
that.
both sat in the car and cried like little girls when we got out. Said that was wonderful. It was really moving.
Interesting. Well, those are the things I think that impact and make a difference. And that's why I say, what is a personal hobby? So this is your personal hobby. You think that is your passion for what you do outside of work, and you feel like you get to contribute to the community by doing so, obviously, and you're making a difference by inspiring other people and bringing some joy to them.
Yeah, we love it. We love doing it. I like doing it for the paid jobs. I like doing it for the free jobs. It's just fun to play music.
Very good stuff. Well, with that, we're going to dive back into a little bit more about the business that Paul has assembled here and the good work he gets to do to help the community. But if you take a look, we're going to look over here on his photos. We got some of the work, obviously, that's been done here. If you want to just touch on a little bit of what people might be looking at here, as there is a lot of good work that you've done, and I can see some of the craftsmanship, and you've got the tools out here. But the couple things that catch my eye, that's a nice looking add-on. What did you call that? A extension of your house.
Yeah, it was a screen porch.
Screen porch.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what went into this.
It's got an atrium roof. What happened is they had a deck on either side, and they had an old deck that was kind of covered, but it was just, it was kind of getting old. It was an older house, probably built in the 80s, and it was just time to replace their deck. And so I came up with a design that they liked and integrated the bench seats in the deck, and you can see that beyond. There's another one pretty much just like it on the other side.
Okay.
And then that's a cedar deck on the bottom, and then there's a way that I do that's all waterproofed and sealed, so there's no way bugs or anything can come up from underneath. So it's not really a deck. That flooring is sitting on top of a subfloor, so it's very protected. And then you can't hardly see the screens in there, but there's screens going up in the all those windows are screens.
Okay. Yeah, and I moved our camera over a little bit to get a little more of the shot so people can see you as you point to the different things that people are looking at there. But is that cedar, or what kind of finish?
That's cedar on the floor.
Okay.
And cedar trim around all the windows, and then that's a fir panel material. It's not cedar, but it stains well. This is a picture that was taken and put on there before it was stained. After it's stained, it even looks better. So I don't know where those pictures are, but they're probably around here somewhere. Okay.
No, good stuff. Yeah, let's go through and dabble with a few more examples of some of your work here. You see another one of these rooms. This is very similar to what my mom has at her house, except she's got underneath. There's 10-foot drop down to the lower floor. But how much does a room like this typically go for, and what do people use these for?
Well, this is a pretty old picture. This picture is, I think, back to 2016 or so. I don't remember. My son designed that one. My son Ryan designed that and put that on. It was one of his projects. That's out in West Alton, and I don't. We did the deck too. I think it was around 80 something then.
Okay.
89,000. I don't remember. I'd have to look. I could look it up on my phone. I got the file in there.
You got everything stored on the
But it's a beautiful room.
I said that to me really, because you've got the vinyl that matches the rest of the house and windows all the way around and a door that goes out to the deck. And this is the kind of add-on that people really enjoy because it gives that perspective. It's like the bow of a boat. You get to see out everywhere from every direction and really know what's going on.
Yeah, she loves it. She loves the
neighborhood that you can do. And how many of these would you say you've done, or how many do you do per year? What would you?
Oh man, I'd say room additions are they consume quite a bit of your resources to do. I'd say we probably do 4 or 5 of them a year, and then we do other jobs in between them. Other kitchens and things like that. Some really big rooms I've had it take 6 months to get done, really big ones with a lot of interior finish and waiting on cabinets and waiting on things. But typically they take 12 to 16 weeks to do.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is just some beautiful work. I'm going to put up on the wall here. This one there, tell me what's going on with this one. This is a dynamite looking, I guess, is that a kitchen?
Yes, it
is.
Is
that an added kitchen in the basement? Or?
Yeah, it's a kitchen, and it has a wraparound corner. Very interesting. That's another one of my son Ryan's jobs, and he designed that, but it has a little little corner sink in the back. Pretty sure that's his job. Yep.
Yeah, and those are some great looking cabinets. What kind of cabinets are those?
They're maple, and I think the finish on that's called Spice, if it's the cabinet brand that I'm thinking it is.
Okay. And then it's got the granite countertop there and a couple sink wells and everything else you need for a full kitchen. It's got everything. It just looks dynamite. Great work there that you put together.
Thanks.
All right. Tell me then, as we how long does a typical job take to complete? And if they're getting in working on a project like this with you, what will they really be expected that they're going to have to spend time-wise for somebody to create something like this?
Well, like I said, with room additions, I always tell people from the time we break ground, plan on 12 to 16 weeks. If it took us that long to do it working straight through, we'd be broke by the end of it. But
Right.
typically, there's downtime waiting for inspections and things, and waiting for subcontractors to come do some of the things they need to do, like the electrician. Their schedules don't always line up with our schedules, which is a very key important point I've told a lot of my clients, because people are consumers. So if somebody doesn't show up, they're like, hey, I gave you all this money, where are they?
Right.
And I tell people, like we do the concrete, and I have to plan when my crew shows up to do the framing. Well, the concrete should be done by Monday, whatever day, it should be done by Monday. And then if I schedule the crew to be there the next day, whenever the concrete's done and cured and everything, and they can start building. Well, what if there was weather and the concrete guy didn't get done? What if, there's deliberately planned delays. So I need to plan when my crew can get there. But more importantly, the subcontractors, let's say the framing's done, customer's like, your guys are not here today, where are they at? I'm like, well, they don't tell me this because I tell them to have this conversation with them
Right.
during our dialogue. But the electrician's supposed to be in there next, but he's not scheduled till next Tuesday. Well, why did you not have him here today? Because it doesn't work like that. I had to give him a date that I had to get a commitment, firm date with him. I wasn't sure we'd be ready by today.
Yeah,
we just got done. We just did a good job. Nobody's there because we did such a good job. We're done early.
Yeah. Well, the timing is important to all of this, and just it seems there's a lot of planning that goes into this, and you got to coordinate everybody to do so, and you can't put in the roof before you put something else in, et cetera. So I think you were pointing at this picture we've got up on the wall. Was that what you were pointing at?
Yeah,
Tell us
there's
a
a
little
lot
bit.
of junk in there. I had pointed to it because it probably shouldn't even be on there because it's not finished. But
Okay.
that was a real nice room addition in Olivet that we did. Actually, my neighbor's house, and that house is now going to be torn down because there's a investor that bought out all those properties, I think. But anyway, we built a room addition with a master bedroom and a bathroom, and I was pointing to it because I was surprised to see it on there because it's not the finished
Well, you can see
product.
where you do the whole tie back, the whole thing. It's like a full-blown house that people are getting put on there. Point at anything else that you find interesting here, because I see a few that I like too. But
That one is one that is a very interesting story. Wonderful people. I had bid the job before COVID, and it was right in the middle. And I was also going through some heart issues. I had to get a pacemaker put in. So this is in 2020. They wanted their deck rebuilt bigger, and they wanted the portion you see there is screened in. Well, I told them the way this is going to be built, it's really the foundation of it and everything. It could be a room. You're going to have a roof over it. You've got the screen windows. Are you sure you don't want windows just to make it a 4-season room? You sure? No, we don't really want to do that. And I said, well, let's be prepared in case you change your mind, because you're probably going to change your mind. So I designed it in such a way they could change their mind. I said, well, here's what it's going to take to put insulation in the walls. You should do that, because once we put the interior wood, you can't come back and change your mind. It's done. Anyway, long story short, as we were going on, they said, you're right, we need to make this a room. And they love it. And but the big reason that's a good story is because I designed it, but I also came in and built it because it was right in the middle of COVID, and none of the workers, I didn't have really any crews to work because people were real scared to go outside. I said, I'll build it if you're okay with me being here at your house.
Okay.
And so my cousin helped me, and we went out and built it.
Looks great. All right, everybody, take a look here at Paul's website too. Lots of great information here for you. Some reviews, some services, a little bit about what people say, and some of the stuff you've seen, some of the work he's done, and just a lot more there that Paul has put together for his team and many years of work to make this all happen. But you are watching the Your Little Castle Show. Giddy up.